People, deluded, I'm back again. Now, I forgot to reiterate one final point, and my last point on this whole Raheem Sterling stuff, not because I want to shut up about racism or the negativity he's experienced, is because I've said everything in it. A lot is going to fall on deaf ears. Beyond the feel good, do nothing, but say cute buzzwords that sound good activism, nothing is going to change within the society, within football, within punishments for the industry. One thing that does annoy me is the journalists, though, because we know Ozil it's completely different, but Ozil kind of exposed them how they can't take their opinions being critiqued. When, do you remember a couple of years ago we beat Spurs after not being given a chance and they all cried? Journalism get a free pass. Journalists get a free pass because very few people read the article. People get mad about articles and things like that. But how often do people pay attention to, at the start of an article, you typically see Joe Blogs or the name of that, and then critique that man or hold that man to high account? It's rare. These journalists, they've got, I don't know how they sleep at night. I don't know how Piers Morgan sleeps at night, still denying his racism. Of course, he's not a stupid man. He knows there's racism. He's clearly just trying to get attention and just being a cunt. Hopefully, he just gets a slap in the face. But the stereotype they're trying to push with Raheem Sterling is something that annoys me, because no matter how much they try, they can't. This is a man who, first and foremost, which some people in this society get away with it, he pays his taxes. He's a God-fearing, pays his taxes man. He deals with his family in a great way. He don't, like you've seen with some footballers and whatnot, he's not being a womanizer like they're trying to paint him out to be when he tried to say he had 5 baby mothers, which is false. He's not abusing women, which you've seen with certain former players that are national treasures within this nation. He's not doing drunk driving, drunk and disorderly. Two players have also done this, and that doesn't make sense. Two players have been caught doing this, and they didn't receive any coverage as much as when Sterling went Primark. Like I said, he pays taxes. He looks after his family. He's God-fearing. He actually does a lot of community work. How often do you see Sterling? And it's sad to say, 'cause I wish it wasn't a thing in the world, raising attention to promoting, trying to find blood donors and bone donors and things like that, and help discouraged kids. How much times is he visiting discouraged kids? How many times do you hear family of sick kids or family members of kids or complete strangers say Sterling's taking time out of his day, of his holiday, or in person, or he's driven up there to be friends and stuff like that? Sterling is a man that's, obviously, I'm not going to talk too tough, but certain demographics and certain and members of the police or the police force don't have the best of relations, and there's tensions between that. Sterling has actually tried to do his bit to try and bridge the gap. And on top of many things, Sterling donates a lot of his wages to charity and other good causes. This is a man that wants to just put his family on, his mum that used the fearlessness to move by herself from Jamaica to England, work extremely hard and take her son with her to clean, and even Sterling had to do that for a cleaning job. Why doesn't he? And she still found money to buy him football boots and take him QPR. Why can't he buy her a £1 million house or something like that? The reality is that £1 million house, it might be a lot of money, but he can't repay back his mother for what he did and the selflessness, but he can try. Why can't he? Now you'll say Sterling wanted to leave Liverpool, he wanted to do this and that, that's why he's a money grabber. Alright, cool. So why does Marcus Rashford, someone who isn't a money, not that I think Sterling is, but to go against it, someone that hasn't ever had any issues, why when Rashford bought a house to the suburbs in Manchester, wherever that is, the same language was said? It doesn't make sense. People say, oh, Gascoigne and Rooney get it, they got it, Sterling's no different. And again, I'm not trying to dig and throw shade at people, but Rooney is someone that got caught cheating on his wife. Rooney was someone that was filmed drink driving. Rooney is someone that has been bagged many times for this. Gascoigne, racial abuse. How many times has he racially abused someone? How many times has he got into disorderly fights on the roads? He's beating up women at 8 AM, Steve, in his train station and things like that. Raheem Sterling's not done a thing. Raheem Sterling's not done a thing. Even if you wanted to call him a money grabber, where does money grabbing, which something we all do, and these are people hypocrites because they call him a money grabber, but more times out of 10 they're begging their boss to get a raise. Where does being a money grabber, being a violent and disorderly rank? Because one, obviously Gascoigne is a bad boy footballer, and him and Sterling are not levels in terms of what they've done in the game so far, but why are some held as national treasures and it's spoken about as many reasons are given as to their outlandish behaviour, other than they're just being stupid? They can blame, and I'm not saying it's not true, but they can blame alcoholism. Not saying that they only have taken drugs, but they can blame drugs. They can blame family dying and things like that. Black players or black people don't get afforded the same luxury. You can't make a mistake. Being a black player or a black man, you can't make a mistake because you're not afforded the same luxury. There's always reasons as to why certain people did certain things, but when you're black, it's because you're black. It's because you was doing this and that. It's annoying. All I've seen is it's just nonsense. People really want to paint Sterling as this. They really want to use the stereotype that he's left Jamaica, his family's left Jamaica. Sadly, his dad lost his life. Grew up with a single mother in northwest London, which northwest London, some parts are good, but the majority is a greasy area. They really want him to be this hood guy talking about blood, fam, in it, and all of this, just acting like an ignorant gangbanger. They want him to speak. They want him to speak like that, but he doesn't speak like that. They can't handle the fact that he is a respectful, sorry, God-fearing, humble man. How many times do people say Sterling is shy, he's humble, he's helped to even put away, not that's a big thing and he's better than anyone, but he's helped to put away chairs after interviews and things like that. How many times have these things been said? And he's still witch hunted by the media. He's still killed. He's still seeing this when he puts his family on social media. Vicious comments said about a child, people, a child. Vicious things, man. And I know people. All we're gonna see is think pieces by journalists that are no concern with anything in regards to this. All they want to do is ensure that Sterling's team or Sterling's PR team, they're in good relations. So if an exclusive interview comes out, it's them, or they get clout or following or elevated positions. People are just in this for self-interest. Very few people, excluding ourselves watching this, actually want to see change. Actually want to see black players, if they do stupidness, spoken about as being stupid, and if they do right, praised for being right. Just a level playing field. Like I said, we don't get the same. Again, to use Harry Kane as an example, when Harry Kane is out of form, what he said, he's tired, he's overplaying, he needs a rest, he needs this, he needs that. When it's a black player, it's always busts up with managers, lazy, not focused, more concerned with cars. How many times on TalkSport do you see twats going there and relate it to a black man in a car? It's ridiculous. Even if they wanted a car, why can't they? And what smacks it is chairmans of football clubs with Rolexes and Bentleys talking about black players care about money, when what they earn is pennies on what you earn. And even if they did care about money, so what? It's like I'm tired of it. I like humbleness, but black players don't have to be humble. I'm tired of seeing just why must we constantly? It feels like we must shut up and be grateful. Even Dave Kitson just chatting shit on the line on the net, talking about how, what did he say? About how Sterling, he went on Sterling's news feed and he goes, I think I've got it written down somewhere. Look at my cars, look at my house, look at this bathroom, look at this, look at that. He doesn't do that. How's that? Obviously, people are bitter and that would antagonize people only if they allow it. Go and get on your grind. Stop hating. People like me, I see Sterling with a nice life. I see people with a nice life. That makes me want to grind. I'll never earn what they earn, but that makes me want to grind and find something that I can do and get myself in a good position. If you're sitting down bitter, that's your fault. If you're sitting down bitter, that is your fault. Why must it? What Dave Kitson said just stinks of it. You should shut up and be grateful, Negro. That is essentially what it is. And I'm not going to pull any punches. I'm not going to pull any punches because, again, not to name drop people, but when I follow James Maddison on Instagram and I rate him highly, when James Maddison is out there playing golf, which he's quite rightly to do so, or Luke Shaw is posting his car or his designer bag and stuff like that, why is this not said? For what it's worth, on a general basis, clearly footballers can be a bit smart, but I don't feel either three have flashed it in people's face. It's their Instagram. They can say what they like, rightly or wrongly. If they get badness, then it's their fault to a degree, but it's their life. Why can footballers not show what they earn? Why can footballers not, like, just a level playing field? It is incredibly condescending, these sort of words. It just sounds like it's coming from a position of power. It's constantly falling on tone-deaf ears. Like, it's never in it, like it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And even though I never got to see him more and more, this is exactly why I'd say Muhammad Ali is my idol, man, because in a time it was bad enough being black, but he was black and wavy, so it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous, man. In fact, let's find Dave. I can't get away with this, man. Let's find Dave Kitson's exact comments, man. Let's find his exact comments, bruv. Because he is talking. This is a 38-year-old man from Hitchin as well. And to be honest, when I saw the incident, people, I didn't think it was him. I was like thinking, you look quite out of shape. Didn't you just stop playing football, bro? Come on. I'm on the independent, people. Apologies. let's find his exact words. For what it's worth, he did condemn it, but he said, I do believe that players make themselves a target. Why Raheem Sterling? There are other black players on the pitch every week. I just think that we have a duty of care to ourselves as footballers to be a little bit careful with social media and the way we portray ourselves. Jealousy is an awful thing among the human race. So explain what Raheem Sterling did wrong in the build-up to the Euro 2016 and during the World Cup. Yeah, he didn't score, and a lot of that, some criticism is fair, but by the same logic, he worked very hard. So his performances, what has that got to do? So him on the football pitch, why has that got him dealing with a racial abuse? It's not, his abuse is not directly leading to the car. In fact, very rarely are people actually speaking now about Raheem Sterling's car or whatnot. He's actually been criticised, if you lot remember rightly, he was criticised for taking a low-budget airline on holiday with his girl. He was criticised for going Primark. He's been criticised for going Greggs. So pardon my language, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm tired of tone-deaf idiots being given a platform. Now, similar to Sky Sports and GMTV, TalkSport are just in it for views. So they will do this time and time again. And if it makes them money and people need to eat, at the end of the day, they need to pay their bills and feed their children. But I trolled through Raheem Sterling's Instagram feed this morning to find a lot of what he put on in his early days has now been deleted. And it was, look at my car, look at my house, look at this bathroom, look at this, look at that. And that's going to antagonize people. Now, that's no excuse whatsoever for racially abusing someone, but you sow the seed amongst people who are not racist, not to like that particular person, because they don't want to see that in their faces every day. Now, some of that isn't necessarily wrong. Obviously, if a footballer is constantly flashing money and rings and stuff like that, people are going to hate. It still wouldn't make hate excusable because one, why are you hating? Go and get on your own grind. Two, that's an illness. Why are you sitting down going on someone's account constantly and doing that? In fact, three, it's not the other jobs. It's not the other person's job to police how shit you feel about your life or how crap your life might be in comparison. Pardon me, people. Low battery. Oh. In comparison to them, it's not their fault. Why is it Sterling's fault? Why must Sterling? Obviously, if Sterling was putting wads of cash and taking out his 200, 300,000 a week stat that he gets a week and throwing it on the floor, that's a different story. But he's not doing that. Footballers have money. If he's showing the house he bought for his mum, so be it. If he wants to delete any picture for any reason, so be it. Why must he be shutting up? And now he's went on to say, now you go on to Raheem Sterling, it's here's a goal I scored last week. Here's me in a kids' hospital. So and then he's gone on to say, so someone's got hold of him and said, look, you can't do that anymore. But that seed has already been planted in people's heads. Take your racial undertones elsewhere, because that doesn't make no sense. Sterling from day dot has been doing that. How many times, even when Sterling was at Liverpool, you would see him playing football with youths and stuff that were disadvantaged. What the hell are you talking about? And quite right, frankly, he's been condemned, man. Like, I've never such a tone deaf person, and this is the sort of stuff that annoys me, because for me anyways, I've been taught and I've learned, if I don't necessarily understand something, if there's a debate going on with something which I might not be affected because I'm from a different walk of life or I might be a different demographic, I sit down and listen. I listen to understand. I don't listen to talk. This person is talking for the sake of talking. He's proven time and time again does not understand where he's coming from. And what I can't understand is, big up the likes of Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher for speaking, but it doesn't matter if it's LGBT rights, it doesn't matter if it's black rights, it doesn't matter if it's women's rights, in specific in football as well. Why? And again, I'm not saying nobody of this demographic can be at the table, but why is it just middle-aged white people, white males, in fact, specifically white males, giving their opinions on this? Because it's falling on deaf ears. Dave Kitson is falling on... This is a man that lives in Hitchin. Like, he does not understand what Raheem Sterling is going through. He's never had to walk a day in Raheem Sterling's shoes. And even on the topic of Harry Kane, can you... Not to dig out Harry Kane, because you know I love him, people, but... Could you imagine the headlines? Do you remember the World Cup when Kane could have squared it to Sterling and he chose to shoot? Imagine the headlines if that was Sterling. We do not. This is why I personally feel there's a gap for someone who is necessarily black to media train black players, because we're not afford the same luxuries, the same naiveties and things like that. It doesn't matter if it's Pogba. Pogba's another one. Yes, you see the dancing, you see the marketing and things like that. You actually rarely see Pogba put flash and bling on his Instagram. It's only really his friends, his family, He's obviously a very religious man, so when he goes on his pilgrimage, I'm not Muslim, so I don't understand everything about that, and I won't pretend to. Things like that, and just funny videos. He's never showing off his wealth. Obviously, you might see him, the only thing he showed off his wealth is when he was taking the mick out that penalty and he walked to his car that time. So why do people keep calling Pogba a money grabber and stuff like that? Because it doesn't make sense. That money grabber stuff is only really preserved for black players, because people think they shouldn't be making this money anyways. That's what. And on top of that, we know football fans or people in general of other countries, or not even of other countries, that don't make no sense. In the nation, people that don't like football, don't like working class sports, they have a problem with football because they hate to see. Obviously, to a degree, there's working class rugby people, but rugby, cricket, a couple other sports, you need to be from a certain tax bracket to play for them. Football, anyone, regardless of what you make, can go and play this, and they've earned a lot of money. So people, in general, higher class people have an issue with working class people earning good sums of money as footballers, much less a black working class man earning a lot of money. So you can imagine the racial undertones. And to a degree, I've told you that before, I think social media is a great thing, a fantastic thing, and I wouldn't want to lose my anonymousness on social media. But to a degree, when you see stuff like Sterling has to put up with, or away from this, I've seen, one of them, was it Lily Allen or something? Forgive me if I'm wrong. Sadly, I think if it was, forgive me, because I wouldn't say this if I didn't believe it. But I think Lily Allen lost a child or something like that. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I looked at the comments on one of her posts and I had to look away. I mean, people are I don't even want to repeat the stuff. You can imagine vile stuff about a dead child. So if you can imagine, if people knew directly, or if the internet could source up, well, it can, because it can track IP addresses, but if you knew Joe Blogg said this about Lily Allen's dead child or something, that person will think twice because they're going to get hit up or something. Like, it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. And I feel a trick's been missed, people. I feel this could have been a great discussion to have, both with middle-aged white people that can have conversation like this, like Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville, not Piers Morgan. And you could have got a lot of, you could have got Ian Wright, you could have got a lot of them people that were on Ian Wright's show, you could have possibly got Sterling, you could have had a great debate on Sky Sports as to what goes through, what black people feel in regards to football, how they actually feel, and you actually could have related it to society. A trick has been missed, a trick has been missed, and it's sad because ultimately nothing is going to happen. We're going to be outraged about something else next week, and ironically all of this is forgotten. If you remember, let me find, I think it's Dennis Lewis, sorry, Falkirk FC. I think a black player was actually racially abused by his own players. Look, Scottish police charged the man. Obviously, I've spoken to you already about Scott Sinclair, what Scott Sinclair had to deal with by Aberdeen fans, or an idiot from Aberdeen. You've obviously Denon Lewis has been racially abused by his own Falkirk fans. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I'm reading the article. So yeah, it's 2018 and we're dealing with a lot. And the reason why a lot of this goes uncovered is because the media are smart. One, propaganda is a smart thing, people. Think about it. True or not, if you say Raheem Sterling is a money grabber enough times for a year or in enough formats, people are going to start to believe it. And on top of that, on top of propaganda, they're smart, because what do you see? When it's racism or things like this, you rarely see it on front pages. You see it on the back page. It's rarely on the prime time news. It will be on, you know how there's different news slots where typically people won't be watching. I mean, the afternoon, unless you've got the news on in your office, or you're online, or you've got a TV in your office, you're not going to sit down and see the news necessarily. So they'll put the articles or the incidences on stuff like this, or they'll put it on really late at night where people are not watching. Now, I've had a brief experience working in advertising, so I can understand the amount of the difference between reach and different numbers in terms of when you pull it on. Primetime TV or primetime whatever, people are more likely to see it. It's common sense. So the media are very smart, and until the media are rightly critiqued and individuals are named and shamed, nothing is going to change people. People do this for attention, 100%. I've been on TalkSport too as well, so there's some good individuals there, but 100% TalkSport don't give a fuck. They just want attention, because constantly they find idiots both to speak about Arsenal, which I hate, but you've seen with Lacazette, you've seen with Paul Pogba, or like I say, Lacazette, getting him confused for Aubameyang. You've seen with Dave Kipson. You've seen even vile comments in regards to women in James Cundy, the twat. You've seen that. These bring views. negativity brings views. This is why TalkSport's on that. That's why GMTV have Piers Morgan, because he's on trolling online. And then you see how he instantly tried to line up a debate. Sorry, people. Line up a debate between him and Henry Winter, because they don't give a crap about Raheem Sterling, and they damn well don't care about no black people. I've got nothing else to say, man. It's just no one else is gonna say this stuff, so I have to, man. I don't care for fear, because no one's bringing me in anyways. I ain't got no blessings to lose or no nothing to lose. Nobody's bust DG anyway, so someone's got to speak about the truth. And I know these other YouTubers are bottlers, so Big DG's got to do this thing, man. So people, thank you for watching, rocking and sticking with me, man. It means the world. On that note though, I'm out. Thank you. People, deluded, I'm back again now. My coat's behind me, I'm about to go off, but I've already spoken about Raheem Sterling. Big up Sterling for coming out, so I'm not going to say nothing new under the sun or repeat myself. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but one thing that it makes me feel a bit uneasy, people, and I'm not going to lie, I know a lot of other YouTubers are not going to speak about it, they're not going to do things for fear of losing endorsements and all of these things, but the good news is I ain't got no endorsements anyways. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it once, in this, finally for this vid. The amount of, I'd say, it's nice that Sterling came out, people. I'm happy that Sterling come out. But what I'm getting annoyed in now is that, firstly, a lot of journalists, I don't think they're genuine people. And I know I'm not the only one that feels like this. A lot of them are genuine. Of course, there's a lot of people that are genuine that might have been aware of unconscious racial bias or the racism that Sterling and many other black players and other minority players, such as Ozil, have had to deal with the connotations of being lazy and money grabbers. So it's nice to see that they're waking up to that, because I've been at a lot of events. Some people are genuinely trying to unlearn subconscious bias and trying to learn how they can do their bit. So it's important that you don't turn things like this into a witch hunt, specifically a witch hunt for, I'd say, what, middle-aged white males. That typically doesn't matter if it's LGBT, if it's feminine rights, if it's now we're seeing with black rights or black players' rights. It seems to be a certain group of men sitting down and the same sort of men sitting at the table, and it's jarring, because this was a conversation. This could have been a conversation in which you could have had people that this directly affects. This directly affects people that look like Sterling. You would have got more of a conversation in a barbershop than you would have on Sky Sports. I know, quite rightly so. You saw Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher and the other guy have a great discussion. They spoke about it. It was great, and Neville was very self-critical, and I applaud him. He shedded some insight and stuff like that. But on the flip side of it, I'd have to say, okay, it's good that you've come out now, but what did you lot do when you found out it? You knew Sterling, you clearly sympathised with it. You could see him, I wouldn't say breaking down, but he couldn't understand why in 2016 this was happening. Why was more not done? Why, when Sterling was driving his car and he was racially abused then, was something not done? Why is it only being spoken of now? Why are commentators, pundits, journalists are now coming out and saying it's gone on too long? So I have two questions. One, have you always known this and been too scared? Or two, when did you realise this? Because you either known forever, or you didn't, or you was completely clueless. I believe it's the first option. Or thirdly, you were scared. And I get it. People are scared. People don't want to lose endorsements and things like that. But it just feels like, with a lot of these journalists that probably attacked Sterling, they're coming out and just saying things because they're the right things to say. People are chasing clout and attention, and obviously if people are saying the right things, people are then going to go to their blogs. Ultimately, that's how journalists get paid. They get paid when people click. So if they say things like that and increase their following, it's self-fulfilling. A lot of YouTubers are doing it. It's just really self-fulfilling. And back to the point before I got sidetracked, in regards to the discussion, this could have been a discussion to talk about the because I do believe there's racism, but I do believe what's potentially more racist or more dangerous than racism is the subconscious bias. I do believe there's a lot of undertones that are on purposely put there, but a lot are not known. Maybe that's because there's not a lot of, I'm going to keep it 100, there's not enough black journalists, so maybe they don't understand the black man or the black woman enough. Maybe it's that, or maybe I just don't know what it is essentially, people, because this could have been a conversation about the unracial unconscious bias you typically hear with comments like lazy, lack of focus, bling, talking about bling. Like, what was it Simon Jordan comparing Pogba to Dr. Dre? When does Dr. Dre wear all these mad earrings and stuff? Not that it's a problem of Pogba's, but we could have talked about the connotation, the language, the understanding, possibly, you could have even spoken about black people in white spaces, both in the professional and social life. This could have opened up a great discussion. And I can't understand how it's a typical sort of person, a status quo sort of person that gets to speak about every issue. Credit to Jamie Carragher and Neville. I'm not getting at them. I'm getting at the industry. I mean, it's ridiculous. How can a black person be going through black issues? And I don't see any black person on any real, given any significant time, or black players giving a proper debate show on Sky Sports or something. What would have been more useful? There's a debate show. Why not get Rio Ferdinand? Not. I'm just dropping names, not to say these people do it. Rio Ferdinand, Troy Townsend, who does a lot of great work. Insert many different examples, both old and young, having them sit at a table and talk. It's self-fulfilling, it's clout changing. Piers Morgan, pardon my language, is a fucking idiot, people. The worst thing any black player or any person, if you're not black, that cares about trying to fix racism, could be to get into the debate with this guy. He intentionally acts stupid. There's this connotation that racist people are stupid because they're ignorant. Some of them are the most intelligent people. Piers Morgan, he has no morals. You've seen what he's done with phones. His job is to rile, to gain attention. You see, all he wanted to do was get a conversation on GMTV, in which he got it with Henry Winter. And again, two status quo men talking about is racism true or not. It's ridiculous, isn't it? And Henry Winter, he's someone I've actually sat across the table. He won't remember me, but I've been to events where he's networking events where he's been there. He was, not to dig him out, because I'm nice to see he's now saying it, but he's been pressed to ask if the press, he was pressed ironically to ask if the press had a racial bias to Sterling, or were quite, let's keep it 100, racist to Sterling, in which he sidestepped it. It's nice to see he can see it now, but how can you have something? It doesn't make sense. If two women, if there's an issue that surrounds exclusive to women, would it make sense me and if I had a twin, me and that twin speaking about women's issues? We might have an opinion on it. We might be able to sympathize with it. We might be empathetic. We might be knowledgeable on it. But we're not women. We never know how it affects us. So there's a sort of tone deafness that will always fall upon that. And I've also, I can't get away, people, without speaking about. It's nice to see the amount of footballers, both white and black players, that are coming out and supporting Sterling. Just go through his comments and they're all saying, you don't know, facts, this and that, and all these other entertainment industries and pundits and things like that. And I must say, where were you? Where were you? I get it. People don't want to lose their jobs. People are scared. Where were you? Why has it taken so long? Now that Sterling has come out, why are so many people now found their voice? I don't get it. So many footballers have now found their voice. Before, only a few people spoke on it. Southgate, Delt for sure, Gareth Southgate, if I didn't clarify that. There's only been a handful of people that actively spoke about this thing before, and now everybody's found their voice. Nothing is, it's ridiculous how fickle people can be. Black players, and I'm getting at black players because I'm a black man first and foremost. Black players, you are just as bad as the racists if you know what is happening and you've taken this long to stand up against it, or even say something, or even stand with your brother. Sterling is a strong man because the amount of crap he's had to put off, attacks on his character, assassination of his character. You never know what the man is like personally, be away from the scene, and he still moves with a smile on his face. It's sickening. It's nice to see he's defended now, but where were you? Everybody's pundits, journalists, everybody's saying the right things now. Everybody's saying there's more needs to be done. It's injustice, it's this and that. Everybody's saying the right things. Everybody's talking about the right things. But what is going to happen? Nothing can happen. Nothing can happen, in my opinion, because they're not going to deduct. The FA, the UEFA, all of these mad companies, they tell you what they think of black players or racism time and time again, with these penny on the pounds fines, with these inconclusive evidence, things getting dropped. It's all fine and dandy, people saying the police is not for this listening thing, but it's all fun and dandy saying the police are going to investigate in this and that, only for it to be dropped. If you're serious about it, you dock points of teams, and it's not as easy as that. I don't have all the answers, but clearly something needs to be done, because we're sitting here year on year out talking about the same things. On the topic of unconscious bias, the only way it can be if more black journalists that understand people that come from places that we come from get to speak about them, because too often it's youths from Hastings and these mad posh parts, not to say they can't sympathise, or anyone that lives there can't empathise, but too often they don't get it. It falls on deaf ears. They don't understand certain things. The only way that's going to happen is more minorities or more people from a similar walk of life get to speak about these things. I dream of a world. It's sad, but I dream of a world where if a player is lazy, black or white, they're legitimately lazy. Too often they're not. Whenever a black player isn't in form or isn't firing, or they might not be selected by their manager, they're disruptive. They're lazy. Their focus isn't there. They talk on their cars. I mean, we live in a day. Look at Talksport. Talksport. You got that Dave Kitson chatting crap about on Talksport. You've got the first thing. What happened when Dean Saunders was on there and he spoke of the Harry Kane drive that Lacazette doesn't have after Lacazette had one poor game and started relaying Lacazette's form on the pitch to his Ferrari, and what made it worse, he actually confused Aubameyang and Lacazette. So it's a bit of a double whammy there. I'm not saying Dean Saunders is racist, but do you think all black people look the same, or what connotations are you getting at? Back to the example, I dream of a world where black people don't have to feel socially awkward in some incidences. This could have been a great conversation to have about unconscious bias, both in the workplace and football. Hairstyles. Many people don't get hairstyles. Now, Pogba has blue hair and stuff like that, and I can't understand it. But I come from a place where I know knowledgeable people that have ambitions to be bankers. They've got dreadlocks, so they're shunned from Wall Street, sorry, not Wall Street, Canary Wharf in America. They're shunned from them places. There's black women that can't even embrace their natural afros because they're made to feel awkward. People want to touch it. I used to have cameras so that happen as well. People want to touch it. People say it's untidy. People and this and that. And it's actually, and people attribute these sort of things to being lazy when it's their natural hair. And what's sad is that it's actually black people in times that say these sort of things as well. I don't think nothing's going to change, because I do think some of these journalists that clearly didn't care, I don't see how they've got their voice now, personally, people. I don't understand how they've suddenly got a voice. It's nice to see it spoken about, and again, I'm not speaking about all of them. There are some good ones out there, but some people are not doing this for the right reasons. They're doing it because they don't want to be seen as the only one now who hasn't commented or tweeted about it. And a lot of people are just self-fulfilling and clout chasing, both on all sides. And I'm angry the most at my fellow black YouTubers, pundits, footballers, anyone who suddenly found their voice, because this is ridiculous. Like, this is ridiculous. No change can happen if you move scared and think about yourselves. It's the same example I gave you guys weeks or months ago, or constantly give you about how I've been at events in regards to the lack of black managers. And there's been black people in positions that, credit where due, the FA is racist and there's a lot of issues with the FA. Let's keep it 100. The chairman, is it Greg Clark or something like that? Credit where due, he was actually trying to hook up with some black coaches or former coaches or people like that and try and anonymously meet them and get their opinions as to not only can they do better, understand them and stuff like that. I don't want to name people, but certain managers are backing out of that for fear of losing their jobs. Now, understand it. I'm not criticising you, but do you see how you can't move across? And another point I'd like to say as well is that there's a lot of white people that genuinely are trying to unlearn some of their behaviours. I've been at these events. There's a lot of white people, status quo white people that I said at the beginning, that genuinely want to bring around change. And they're trying to. They're listening. They're trying to listen. They're trying to see it from another perspective, because they didn't grow up how Sterling might have grown up or come from his walk of life and things like that. They're trying to understand him. So what is very careful we do, people, is not to turn this into a witch hunt of the status quo middle-aged white person that you're typically, white man specifically, that you're seeing on Sky Sports, etc., all discussing it. It didn't matter if it was Sky Sports with all the Sky Sports people, GMTV with Piers Morgan and Henry Winter, BBC. You've not seen it. Obviously, there's been black people speaking about it. You've seen John Barnes, but you've not seen a proper discussion about it. Gary Neville, obviously great talking points and things like that, but you've never seen it. You've never seen it, and it does sound a bit mad. And it is the game, innit? People, I think with social media, it's only become more self-fulfilling, because things don't feel sincere. Not to relate it to tragedies, but you look at Glenfell, you look at Paris, you look at a lot of these incidences. It seemed like some people were saying certain things because everybody is. Prayers are just tweets now. These must do better and things like this. It's nothing more than feel good, do nothing activism, because nothing is going to change. Owners of football club, I don't want to name names, but a certain commentator is very prominent on English international games, said to a group of people at a kick it out event, literally, the reason why there's not a lot of black managers is because a lot of these owners of football clubs, when they're playing golf and things like that, they don't know any black people. Now, that is logically, that could make sense, but do you see what I'm saying? How we're going to sit here year in, year out and nothing is going to change. I have a couple ways I think change can happen. I do think one way it could happen in regards to management, we're going off topic, is if black people that have enough money, they form consortiums, because they, by this going against the same logic of these rich white people don't have any black friends on their contact list, to go on the example I gave you by the commentator, surely a black man would have a black manager as a friend. So things like that. Black journalists is dying. How I saw some mad statistic, only 4 BAME individuals, journalists, went off to the World Cup in terms of providing coverage and stuff like that, and journalism. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. And that's why you have to be twice as good. I know certain people understand what I'm getting at with that. You've had the talk, I don't need to expand on that. You really have to be twice as good, because this world doesn't award mediocre when you're black. I'm going to be honest with you. You have to be twice as good. I don't really know any mediocre black people. Obviously there's handfuls, but you really have to. This world revolves around mediocreness, and this world doesn't, when you're black, this world doesn't, it doesn't reward being mediocre. This is what pushes me as deluded. It doesn't. I have to work twice as hard for half of what people have, for many reasons. Well, it is what it is. All I can do is say, big up Raheem Sterling, big up, regardless of what colour you are, big up the people that genuinely want to see change, have been talking about this. And I must admit, I see, and lastly, big up yourselves, but I see through the fakeness, the ones speaking through this for the sake of it. And another disappointing one is these YouTubers. I'm speaking about it. I'm sure there's a couple others, but how many YouTubers are saying anything? How many are doing it? Because they don't want to be blackballed, because they're trying to get lad books to sponsor them, because they're trying to get on all these platforms, and they're trying to do certain things. I don't care about that sort of stuff. I mean, I love football. And one thing I love about football is it promotes equality. It doesn't, obviously, if you're big, you're faster, you're smaller, you've got more skills, you have advantages. But typically, if you're white or black, it doesn't, or any other colour, football doesn't give a crap or give a fuck what country you're from or what you are. It's either you're good or you're bad, and you're going to win or lose. And I've made a lot of friends, both black, white, and many different nationalities through our love of football, whether it's playing, talking in school about it. I've seen, regardless of skin colour, what football can do for people, how it can save people from being on the brink of suicide. And away from all of that, I love my fellow man. We're all different. Culturally, I'm born in England, but I'm of Jamaican and Bayesian descent. Culturally, I'm different from my white friend, but we can get on. We have similarities. We have banter. I judge a man, he judges me, and I judge him on his morals, on his principles, not on the colour of his skin. Might have little jokes, but on his principles, what he stands for, the sort of man or woman they want to be, not the colour of their skin, because it's irrelevant what skin colour you are. We all have different cultures and stuff, but that was, personally for me, that's what makes the world different and lovely, because like I said, of my heritage, I might go, what's an example? I might go to China. Chinese man or woman, completely culturally different from me, different foods and stuff like that. But I go there, embrace it, and that's what makes it amazing. If you could have 4 people in a room of four corners of the world, all got different things to bring to the table, and you connect them together, it's amazing. This is what's amazing. Underneath the skin, we're all different. I have more pigment in my skin and typically more oily skin than my white counterpart. It doesn't make him any better or any less than me. It doesn't make a black man any less or any more than somebody else. And obviously racism will never change. We're all the same. Like, even on my last Sterling comment, some idiot, he was actually black, said black people are not the same. We're all not the same. What kind of racial crap are you teaching your child? Which, when I went on his YouTube account, he has a child. What are you talking about? Yes, there's racism in this world, and there's cunts in this world, but there's equally a lot of good people of all nationalities. Everybody's racist. Everybody's a twat based on every nation. Racism isn't reserved for a certain colour or a certain walk of person or a certain age or anything like that. Racism can be learned young. Racism can be adopted tomorrow. It's a sickening disease. It's illogical. We cannot rationalise or have any logic in regards to racism, because it is illogical. The very fact that you're looking down on someone for having any less or more pigment in your system than you is illogical. It's a cancerous disease, essentially, being racist. It is. It stops you. Like it's stupid, man. And I'm going off topic, and I've gone left, right, and all the way with this vid. So apologies, but I had a lot of thoughts I wanted to get off my chest, man. So on that note, people, I'm sorry for messing up your day with all this long video stuff, but I need to kick out, man. I've been here 20 minutes. I'm going to be late now. So, people, deluded, stay safe and do the rest. Deluded.